I'm not smart enough to predict what's going to happen in 10 years.
I can do this.
How do I know this?
You may have some people here who are. I'm not one of them.
In 10 years from now, will Amazon dominate every industry? I think the only reason the answer is no is because you have Apple, Facebook, and Google.
In 10 years from now, Amazon will not dominate every industry because there's some 12-year-old little boy or girl who will have a better way.
In 10 years from now, will Apple continue to put out an iPhone? I think so.
I think in 10 years, the form factor of the iPhone is very similar to what it is today. It might be connected to more things on our body, and it might be able to have some relationship to glasses or something to help us do our job in the context of where we are, who we are, and what we need to do.
10 years from now, the iPhone there will still be some scaled down version, but we will move on to wearable. And I don't know what that will look like because Apple hasn't invented it yet, but I'm sure they're thinking about it.
I don't want to try to guess Apple's next 10 years. I would have got it wrong about 10 years ago.
10 years from now, Apple will still be putting out iPhones, but they may look like watches and glasses.
In 10 years from now, will automation create massive unemployment? I think if you look at the history of industrialization and the changing of the types of jobs people do, I think what you find is people are doing more service jobs. I heard Jeff Bezos once say the idea that massage therapist is now a profession would be unheard of 20 years ago. I think what you'll end up seeing is many more service industry jobs and hopefully people enjoying their life a little bit more because technology helps us free up time.
I think 10 years from now, automation is going to cause new kinds of employment that I haven't even imagined yet.
New technologies require more training in many instances, and we are not keeping up with the demand for those jobs by making sure people are prepared to be part of the workforce of the future.
I think in 10 years from now, we're beginning to see where automation is really changing a bunch of jobs, and that will create some turmoil, but we will also see the possibility of new jobs.
Yes, automation 10 years from now will cause massive unemployment, but it will also create massive employment of a different kind. So I think what we're going through is a remarkable transition, the likes of which we've not seen in the prior revolutions, the Industrial Revolution. So we're going to see lots of job loss, but we'll also see different kinds of jobs being created.
In 10 years from now, will Disney still be making Star Wars movies? I think absolutely.
10 years from now, Disney will, I hope, still be not just making Star Wars movies, but adding to the richness of the story.
In 10 years from now, I hope Disney won't be making Star Wars movies because I feel like they're going downhill.
Disney will still be making Star Wars movies 50 years from now. And galaxies far, far away.
In 10 years from now, brick-and-mortar retail stores will exist, but they'll be very experiential.
The younger consumer cares about that even more than the more mature consumer.
They'll look really different, but I don't think stores are going away anytime soon. It's nice to get out of the house every now and then, right? In 10 years from now, will cable television exist? No.
Yes, just greatly modified.
My gut says cable television will not exist unless it moves completely to streaming.
That's the most provocative one yet, I think. Cable television in some form is likely to exist. I think it'll be radically different than it is today with wires and boxes.
In 10 years from now, will conference calls still be terrible? I would say yes.
No, because they don't have to be terrible today. Conference calls can work today if you buy the right solution.
In 100 years from now, conference calls will still be terrible.
In 10 years, will artificial intelligence reach a point where it is a danger to humanity? No, but there will be parenthetical case studies where dangerous elements of AI are rearing their head in forcing the brilliant people who create AI to address it.
In 10 years from now, artificial intelligence will have done a lot of great things for humanity, and I think we will not be at any of the dangerous risks.
In 10 years from now, artificial intelligence won't create a robot, if you will, that's out of the movies and is a danger to us, no.
In 10 years from now, AI will not be at a point where it's anywhere near hurting humanity. That's going to happen with the singularity.
In 10 years from now, will there be movie theaters? I think so. And there's still something magical about it and magical about being able to talk about the great stories that you see.
People love going out and being with others as they experience great things.
In 10 years, there will be movie theaters because people want to share certain kinds of entertainment experiences with other people.
There will be movie theaters in 10 years, and there will be movies in those movie theaters, along with seats with people in them.
In 10 years from now, will driverless cars outnumber regular cars? I hope they're both gone and we're all flying around in flying cars.
In 10 years from now, driverless cars will not outnumber cars being driven by humans.
Yes, I believe 10 years from now, driverless cars will outnumber driver cars. I think in particular, trucking will largely be automated. You'll see Port of LA, Los Angeles, trucks rolling straight back to New Jersey and New York. So I think trucking will be the first, but I think we'll all benefit from driverless transportation.
In 10 years from now, driverless cars will be on the streets, and in 20 years, they will outnumber regular cars.
I hope that driverless cars will outnumber regular cars in 10 years from now, because I don't like to drive.
In 10 years from now, will football exist? I hope so, because I will really be crushed if it doesn't.
10 years from now, football will absolutely exist. And as a Michigan football fan, I only hope that Michigan will be in the Rose Bowl that year.
I have no idea if football will exist 10 years from now, the way we know it today.
In 10 years from now, football will also exist, but it will be less popular. It will be less of the cultural dynamo that it is now, largely because of the health issues related.
In 10 years from now, will we have solved fake news? No. I think, people are very interested in hearing themselves talk, giving their opinions. I don't think that's going to change, unfortunately. I do think it perpetuates a culture of, opinions being taken as news or being taken as, 100% true.
In 10 years from now, we will have solved fake news, but there will be new problems with it as well.
Fake news has always been around on every platform, on every publication, and I hope that via transparency and the hard work of folks in Silicon Valley, we can weed it out.
In 10 years from now, will there be any newspapers or magazines that still have a physical circulation? I hope so. I thought I was going to be a holdout because I used to read 5 or 6 newspapers every morning at 5 o'clock. But I've moved over to my devices.
10 years from now, there will be still be newspapers and magazines, but there will be fewer of them, and they will only be lost leaders driving content online.
Well, it's a big question globally. The largest English language newspaper on earth is actually the India Times. My suspicion is those publications outside of the US will continue to be print publications. I'd be surprised if we have much residual print news media going on in the United States at that point.
Yes, I do think there'll be a boutique world for magazines and books and physical print. Generational and celebratory, like the way vinyl is today for music.
In 10 years from now, there will be newspapers and magazines that have a physical circulation because old people need love too.
In 10 years from now, will VR be our primary form of entertainment? Yes.
In 10 years from now, VR will most definitely not be our primary form of entertainment. In a movie or a television show, for instance, it's the director's eye that points the eye of the viewer in a certain direction and enables the story to progress or be told in effective ways. In VR, that mechanism doesn't really exist. Therefore, I do not believe it will create strong storytelling opportunities or be a strong storytelling medium.
Forms of VR will certainly be our primary form of entertainment because it's a richer, engrossing form of entertainment. You would much rather watch a basketball game with floor seats in a VR experience than you would sitting back watching a basketball game with a traditional television broadcast.
No, I don't think VR will be our primary form of entertainment. In fact, I think VR will end up being much bigger in things like medical technology, in teaching people how to do surgery or, doing some kind of imagery of the body. But I don't think it will be as dominant in entertainment as it will be in other fields.